Hey, what's up? It's me, your girl E, coming today for a Saturday writing session. It's been a minute and much apologies is required. The past 2 weeks has been a whirlwind. Um, Valentine's Day weekend, my daughter ended up getting strep throat. And so that was Friday night, out on the 13th, Friday the 13th, right? She ended up getting strep throat and then getting up in the morning. Um, my household was in disarray, getting her prescription, and it was just a mess. Also, my oldest uncle, my Uncle Harry, his birthday, 70th birthday, was on the 19th. And if you follow me on my Facebook pages at Ebony Dawn Starks, um, what I do in my downtime in between reading and writing, just to kind of not think, is crochet. It's a coping skill, it's a de stressor. And because it was his 70th birthday, I wanted to make him a blanket. So I needed to get it done in time. So that was a mandatory assignment. And then last weekend was another crocheted order, a mandatory assignment. So I could not deliver the Saturday writing session as promised, as committed. And is that an excuse? No, I'm just telling you what happened. So that being said, I'm going to go over character development with you. I'm going to take the time to really talk about character development. I personally, as a writer, love character development. I love just creating that character because when you think of a character in a book or on a movie, you already know what they're going to do, how they're going to react when a situation arises, right? Even in the meantime, even this past week, I've binged, like most normal people, I've binged fans of romantic literature, the Bridgerton series, especially this recent part 2 to season 4. It was a beautiful love story. Let me see. Shut up. Okay. Anyway, let me see. Delete comment. Yeah, we're not going to deal with that. I binged it. Okay. Benedict and all his ratchet messiness, things like that. I and definitely enjoyed how the character Sophie settled him down. And with the character development, those who binged the Bridgerton series, especially on the Netflix, if you know the character, he's not one for settling down. He's not one to want to be bothered with the marriage mark. He's not one that wants to be committed. And we saw his transition from the start of season 1, even his committed and his obsession with the young lady Sophie in season 4, right? I loved it. Is Bridgerton, is Benedict my favorite character? No. Anthony is the oldest one. And Anthony is the one that the duty filled, and I can relate because I am the oldest in my family. I'm the oldest child. I'm the oldest everything. I'm the first on both sides, my mother's side and my dad's side. I'm the first child. I'm the first grandchild, both sides. I'm the first niece. So to be the oldest and to take on the responsibility to make sure that your siblings is taking care of while your parents are away at work or out at a family function or whatever, that is responsibility. And when you even see Anthony kind of get with his brother about about his shenanigans, his heart in the season 4, you're like, all Anthony. And that's part of character development. And I truly love it. I truly love it. And the shaping the character, right? Violet explaining to Benedict that Anthony's more like your father, duty bound, kind of reserve focused, and Benedict is more passionate to go with the flow. And that what's the mom, I call her Mama Bridgerton or Mama B, was saying to Benedict, you're like me. But she had to kind of restrain that fly-by-night passion, and she became a wife and a mother because now the husband and the children are focused. And so we see that now that she got her garden in tune. She's not staying in a commitment. She wants to be free. Character development, right? Your character has to grow. Now, we have talked about a couple weeks ago, right? Ezekiel Smith, thank you so much for following. Please like and subscribe, and even share this video. All right. From week one, we went to the core identity and background, right? The protagonist, the personal history and upbringing, the values, beliefs, and worldview, great strengths and weakness, and defining life moments, right? Your character needs to have this, especially your protagonist. What is their history and upbringing? Talk about how they grew up. Talk about where they came from. The values, beliefs, and worldview is the moral compass, okay? Great strengths and weaknesses. Your protagonist has to have flaws because it makes them human. Your protagonist cannot be unhuman unless you're writing about a robot. And some, you write about fantasies and things like that. Some unhuman things have feelings. I just watched, and I watched it before, Meet Joe Black with Brad Pitt, and he was death. And his assignment was to take Anthony Hopkins, to take him. It was time for him to die. But death, Joe Black, fell in love with Anthony Hopkins' daughter. He was not supposed to have those feelings. And that's how you know that no matter what it seems, what it looks like, there has to be some type of emotional moment. Defining life moments. These are the aha moments where you're like, okay, this is where you might change the character might change their course. And it's going to defy them as that character. Mentioning Benedict from Bridgerton, his personal history and upbringing. He comes from a very well-established family, especially in the English society. Values, beliefs, and worldview. He was a lover. He was a painter. He was very passionate. He loved whomever, as long as he was a good person. You didn't have any negative vibes. Greatest strengths and weakness. He was a doting big brother. You saw how if you watched the series, you saw how he protected Eloise, make sure that she was good. You saw that she was someone that he protected her from the whirlwinds of the marriage mort because she just was not emotionally or mentally ready. Sorry for the sniffles. I got a tickle in my sinuses. He was a great big brother. He was a great brother to Anthony. He was a great son, despite all. He was there. He wasn't into the traditions of the things, but he was there. All right. Strengths and his weakness is because he was a rake. He was messy. He did what he wanted to do. But defining life's moments, when he met Sophie and he realized, hi, Blaze to Dank. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely like, subscribe, and share, right? When he realized she was the one, that there was something about her, he went back to his doodling, his sketching, okay? And then he didn't care that she was a maid. He didn't care. But now, if you watched, I mean, I didn't even realize I'm giving you spoilers if you do not watch it. If you did not watch it, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing it. At the end of part 1 in season 4, he asked her to be his mistress. Weakness, right? But the defining life moments, he was like, I don't care. I will leave my family and take you to the countryside, and we will live happily ever after. I don't care. I don't care. This is coming from Benedict, the man whore, as we call him, right? He didn't care. All right. Let's talk about the antagonist, the anti-antagonist is against the protagonist. He's against anything that the protagonist stands for. Origin story and past conflicts. We can definitely deal with that. We can definitely understand that. I mentioned in the previous video, Maleficent. She was an antagonist, but then the books and the movies transitioned her into a protagonist. So we now understood why she put the spell on Sleeping Beauty, on Aurora. Personal philosophies and justification. They have a reason why they move the way they move. And your reader should get it. Your reader should get it, but not excuse it. Your reader should get it, but not condone it or justify it or accept it, but they get it. Okay. Emotional wounds. This is why they have the philosophy and justification. There has been some hurt. There has been some scarring. There has been some trauma. And in this society, now that we are really embracing and deal with mental health, let's deal with the trauma. Because a lot of people like to sweep things under the rug or don't take accountability for the trauma they inflicted. So now your antagonist is now getting justice for the trauma. Your reader has to get it. Okay. Early influences, why they move the way they move, the trauma. All right. The secondary character is my favorite people, is the sidekicks, right? What is the role in the story? What is the role to the antagonist? What is the role to the protagonist? It's usually the best friend. It's usually the mentor. It's usually the voice of reasoning. Mama Bridgerton, Violet, she was always the secondary character in her children's love life to slowly push them to go against what society says and marry for love. Back in the day, women needed to marry for protection. Love was an exception. But she was like, okay, I know you love this person. I get that you love this person. Society says you cannot love this person. Society says you should not love this person. But what is it that you really want to do? Or society says maybe you can move forward in marrying this person, but do you really love her? In the season 2, which is my favorite season with Kate, Kate is that girl. Kate was the stepdaughter to Lady Mary, right? And Lady Mary was the mother of Miss Edwina, Kate's baby sister, her half sister. What happened was Lady Mary was promised to somebody else. And let me see, my name is Gastilia. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please like, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate you. Lady Mary was promised to marry a man with great prospects, money, very influenced, but she fell in love with Kate's father. Kate's father was a widow, and he had a young little girl. He was a single parent. He was not a man of nobility. He was just a clerk. He was intelligent, but he just wasn't a man of nobility. So she married him, and they lived in India, and they had Edwina. So Kate's father died. Now she is living with Lady Mary, and she is living with her baby sister. And now they need the baby sister to marry because they're running out of income. We're running out of resources. But because Kate's father is dead, her mother is dead, she doesn't have a dowry. She looks at it. She looks at it as if she's not qualified to marry. Okay, her baby sister is. So let's get her trained socially with language, with dance, with all the skills that a lady back in the day needs to be trained in, and get her married to a man of English nobility per Lady Mary's family. So what they did was, we're going to control this union if you want a dowry for her, right? So they come to England to be on a marriage mark, and they are Lady Danbury sponsors them. Okay, Lady Danbury, y'all know, has very, very influence in society. She is the Queen's right hand. And but Anthony likes Kate, but the suitable choice, society's choice, would be Edwina, right? She's beautiful, she's well spoken, she knows she's everything, she is perfect. But it was Kate that stirred Anthony's passion. These Bridgerton men. Okay, so anyway, but what I'm saying is, with the role in the story, Mama Bridgerton was telling Anthony, no, Edwina is beautiful, but is she the one? Okay. The Cards 12E. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up? How are you? Please like, subscribe, and share. All right. The secondary character is relationship to the main characters. Mama Bridgerton. She is the mother to like 8 children, all alphabetically named. The, the background summary, well, we learned some background with season 4 because she was a very passionate and kind of unpredictable person. Unique traits. What is it that they do? Okay. Now we missed week 2. That was Valentine weekend. I'm sorry again about that. The motivation, goals, and desires. So, what drives your character forward? What keeps them going? If you remember the chart, the plot chart, we got the introduction. So we're now meeting the character, the rising action. Your character now has to go on a journey to going upward towards the climax, what is the very, very pinnacle, the top. And then, of course, to the falling action, which begin where the pieces fall together, and now the conclusion. What is your primary goal? The primary goal now is the journey that your character on. This is for the protagonist. What are the hidden desires? What is it that they truly, truly want? Okay. Fears and doubts. Again, your character has to be flawed. They have to have fears. They have to have doubts. Okay. That's normal. Think about your life. Think about you going up for that job promotion. You have fears because somebody may be better. You have doubts because maybe you have not been in a field long enough. But so you may not do it or you may do it. And what are the stakes? What are stakes involved? Going back to Bridgerton, Benedict, who was the main character in the season, his primary goal was, all right, I need to find a primary goal actually was, I don't want to find a woman, but I'm just going to entertain this society's nonsense. Hidden desires, because he was very, very passionate person. His passion was not really what his passion was not really accepting society goals. He was a playboy. He was a ladies' man. Hidden fears and doubts. Well, think about it. He was the second son. That's usually the spare. Okay. You're not really required to marry. You're not really required to produce an heir. Okay. Fears and doubts. Okay. Your fears, like you really doubt your purpose. As we see, as we see in season 2, when he was going to art school, he was happy, he was ecstatic, but then he found out his brother made a large contribution to the school, which sealed him a seat. So he doubted it. Like, am I truly an artist? Fears and doubts. And what stakes? The stakes involved with Benedict was being outcast by society, not accepted if you married Sophie, because her father, nobleman, fell in love with a maid. They didn't get married, had a baby out of wedlock. No, that wasn't accepted. So if you marry her, you'll be ostracized. And he was leaving his family. He was willing to do that, knowing how much his family meant to him, how close that bond is. The antagonist, the ultimate objective. What is it that they really want? What is the one ultimate objective that uncompromising objective? You will not bend. Again, the personal justification, what they believe they desire. Again, it makes sense to them because this is what happened to them, and they're going to get justice for what happened. It doesn't have to be anything traumatic. Okay, it does not have to be anything traumatic. It could just be the justification of what was done. It could be let's think of trying to think of a book that makes sense. Cares. Whose? Let me see. Ambitious Soul 8218. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm really appreciating these comments. I'm trying to think of a book that we can make. I can't think of it with the top of my head. We'll use, you know what? We'll use a very controversial story. Ike Turner. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ike Turner's ultimate objective was to be a star. Okay. He was a songwriter. He was a musician. He was a businessman. Take out the negativity out of it and the abuse out of it right now. Personal justification. Ike Turner wrote a lot of songs, and he put together bands. He did this, but then his micromanagement, the obsession for perfection, outweighed the professionalism, and the people that he wrote songs for left and made money, not with him. Okay, so he learned. So when Tina Turner comes around, remember, she was Anna Mae Bullock. What he did was he changed her name to Tina and gave her his last name, Turner, and made it a business. That's mine. I'm putting my name on that. That's business. Personal justification. Because what happened to him in the past, the bad business moves, him just looking out for somebody, hopefully they will throw him a bone. No, this is what I'm going to do now. And this is what I deserve. They believe what they believe this is what I deserve. And what they're willing to sacrifice. We know that he sacrificed a lot. He sacrificed his relationship. He sacrificed his friendship. He definitely sacrificed a lot. Now, we all know the story. We read the book. We see the movie. We heard it. We saw the interviews. A lot of things he did was not right. It was not morally right. It was not emotionally right, mentally. The trauma that both him and Tina Turner endured was beyond heavy. But again, your reader has to get it. They do not have to excuse it. Okay? Your secondary character, the individual goals, they want something. Conflicting interest. They may want something that your protagonist or antagonist doesn't want. All right? Looking at Mama B, Bridgerton, her individual goal, we'll say in season 1 and season 2, no, we'll say season 2, my favorite, was her goal. Her main goal was to get the next daughter married, which was Eloise, the individual goal, and her son Anthony. That's the goal. I need to get my children married. Okay. Conflicting interest was she was definitely going against what they were saying. We get it because she was telling Anthony, these are nice young ladies, marry one, but he was saying none of them are intelligent. And the one that is intelligent, he's not in love with. And she was even trying to tell him, you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody that you just tolerate. That doesn't make sense. That's the conflicting interest. Supportive or obstructive to rules. So your secondary character will be supportive or they'll go against the rules. You say, I need to go, but stay confident in yourself because you matter. And I'm really glad that you are telling me and I need to go. Definitely go in peace and blessings. Blaze D. Dank, thank you again. Please like and share. I really appreciate. Thank you so much for your support. Much, much appreciative. And their personal motivations. What is the secondary character's personal motivations? Because your character is a person. Just because they're the sidekick does not make them any less important. What is their personal motivation? They may have their own thing. Okay. All right. We're in week 3. Okay. How the character interacts with others. You remember on your report card, you was 5, 6 years old and it says play well with others. All right. Communication style. Do they know how to, your protagonist, do they know how to communicate? Emotional responses. How do they act when things get heavy? Think about in society, in life. Some people shut down. They need to be left alone. Some people act out. How does your character do it? Be realistic. All right. Moral boundaries. Your character have to have moral boundaries. Benedict, and he did not have moral boundaries. He did what he wanted to do. Okay. Leadership and following traits. Is your protagonist a leader? No, not following. Fellowship traits. Is your protagonist a leader or are they a follower? 9 times out of 10, when you are writing your book, your protagonist is a leader. Sometimes they're being called or thrusted into leadership. Antagonist, right? Manipulative tactics. Think of your favorite narcissist. They are very manipulative. They will use anything and everything to get their way. All right. They are very cunning. They're very crafty. They're very charming. Cunning, crafty, charming. Those 3 C's. Public versus private persona. We already know. Cunning, crafty, charming. Relationship to power. Your antagonist loves power. It is the purpose. They need that power. It could be to be in charge of a business. It could be in charge of an estate. It could be in charge of a family. They want the power. Remember the movie House of Gucci with Lady Gaga? She was the antagonist. She had very manipulation tactics. Public versus private persona. In public, she was very beautiful, very elegant, very, Gucci. Private persona, she was very manipulative. She was, okay. Relationship to power. She was married to the son of Gucci. She named her daughter after his deceased mother to connect with the father who did not accept her originally. But now he accepts her. Emotional triggers. She was rejected at the end. No, you were not rejecting me. So there may have been a trigger where she must have been rejected as a child. Your secondary character, dialogue patterns. Okay, how is a dialogue? How's a dialogue? Loyal in conflicts? Are they loyal? Their loyalty and their conflicts. Your secondary character is usually loyal, but then sometimes their loyalty can be very conflicting. Okay? Influence on the protagonist. How influential is your secondary character to your protagonist? Interpersonal dynamics. Boom. All right, now we are in week 4. Okay, how the character changes throughout the story. Your character has to grow. Your protagonist has to grow. I've said it numerous times. Your character has to grow. They cannot stay the same. Okay, they have to grow. What is the character arc? What is that hindrance? What is the internal transformation? There has to be an internal. They have to do the right thing. They have to. They cannot stay where they was in the beginning, or where they were in the beginning. Okay. What is the final resolution? It has to be. And what was the lesson learned? There has to be a lesson. You can't write a book with no lesson. There was a writer, and he told me about his life story. He just stayed in trouble. Okay. Just one of those kids stayed in trouble. And then years later, he's now falsely accused. He got into trouble. He was supposed to have a court, but they just picked him up. And then he blamed the court system for putting him in jail for 10 years. No, that's you. That's you. You didn't learn your lesson. This is all now coming back to you. Reap what you sow. This is all that came back to you because of the things that you did, your mindset that you can do what you want, you don't care, your attitude towards everything. Okay. And now you're facing charges in the court hearing for some stuff that you did. And they're like, no, we're not even going to put him in charge. We're just going to put him in jail. You got to take accountability. So what is the lesson learned? Antagonist. Downfall or redemption. Your antagonist can grow. There could be redemption, such as the Maleficent character, right? Or is there a downfall? Consequences of actions. Denzel Washington said that Training Day was rewritten because his character had to face consequences. It would have been unrealistic for him to get away. So Denzel Washington had the character in Training Day face those consequences. Bravo. That is very realistic. Okay. Final confrontation. Same thing as consequences of actions. And legacy in the story. Your antagonist can have a legacy. It can. Because It's your character. And all bad guys have a legacy. They do. The secondary characters, supporting arcs, how do they support, of course, the protagonist and the antagonist? The resolution of subplots. Usually there's a resolution in a subplot for your secondary character. I was watching Friends, one of my favorite shows, and the title was usually the subplot. If you notice that, the one that, whatever, the title is usually the subplot, and there's always a resolution in that subplot. The impact on the ending. What is the impact? Okay, and future implications. What is in store for your secondary character? All right, that's it. Whew, that was a lot. That was a mouthful. All right, next week we'll be back. I have not decided what we're going to be talking about in this writing session, but we're going to definitely go over some writing tips. All right, guys, thank you so much. Please like, share for me, and subscribe. Hit the bell, hit the button, because this is new, and I'm looking forward. I've been writing since I was a kid. Writing is a passion of mine. Writing is very cathartic, and so please like, subscribe, and share. Have a great Saturday.